Hi, I'm Kate. After my parents got divorced, I didn't want to spend time at home, so I was going to parties all the time. During one of these evenings in a bar, two girls came on stage, and they started to move so nicely that I couldn't look away. To be honest, I was a little envious. Boys only had eyes for those dancers. They didn't pay any attention to me, as usual. After finishing their hot dance, the girls moved to the bar and suddenly invited me to join them. They introduced themselves as sisters, Alex and Susie Wood. We perform here every day, but we've never seen you before. We need a third participant for our team in a twerking championship. You look pretty hot. Why don't you try it? I was delighted, and I showed the girls my abilities. But my moves only made the bartender and the sisters laugh.
Kate, stop. We get it. We'll start with the basics. There really are no other options anyway.
The next day, I went to a dance studio. Susie and Alex turned out to be patient teachers. It was only after a couple of lessons that I realized how to shake my booty properly, and I gradually got better at it. But I started to spend less and less time at home because of my new hobby. And in the end, Mom started asking me questions. I lied and I said I was going to drama school. She was a teacher at a ballet school, so she definitely would not be approving of my new hobby. A month later, though, I got good enough to perform in a nightclub for the first time. I was really worried. When I saw what I would have to dance in, I started having second thoughts. The costume was too short and tight, but the girls quickly convinced me.
In this outfit, all the guys will be yours. That's what you came to us for.
The Wood sisters turned out to be right. When I went on stage, guys were practically drooling. It was the first time I'd found myself in the spotlight, and it felt really damn good. But all of a sudden, someone grabbed my leg. I fell and I was dragged into the audience. How rude! This was not how fans were supposed to behave. I dusted myself off, jumped to my feet, and I got ready to scold whoever had grabbed me. But instead of some guy, I saw my mom. Her festive hat didn't match her menacing gaze at all. Mom took me away from my friends, and you should have seen what started then. What are you doing? Why are you shaming our family? And so on and on and on and so forth. I got tired of listening to it, and so I said with a malicious smile, I just like twerking more than your boring ballet. And for some reason, my mom got really hurt about that. Such an idiot is no daughter of mine. You better be moved out by the time I get home. Why was she so harsh? So what if I forgot about her birthday once and danced in a nightclub once? Was that really a reason for her to kick me out? I was so angry with my mom, I didn't even argue. I just packed my things and I drove myself to the nearest hotel. I didn't really have anywhere else to go. I still resented my father for leaving us. But I had enough savings to live in a hotel for a whole month with no issues. During that time, I got even better at twerking than my teachers. Alex noticed and put me in the center. Now, the whole performance revolved around my twerking. And that only meant one thing. It was up to me to make sure our team would be chosen to represent our state at the national competition. And finally, the day of the performance came. I was so worried, and I looked out from behind the curtains to assess the strength of our competitors. And I've gotta admit, those girls did great. They even brought their coach on stage to the applause of the audience. I was so shocked that I dropped a water bottle on my foot. It was my mom. I couldn't bring myself to perform, and I just left to my own shame. How could that be? My mother, a ballet star, had suddenly gotten interested in the modern dancing that had made her kick out her own daughter. In the hotel, I sat on the bed and I burst into tears because of this injustice. But soon, my sobbing must have annoyed one of my neighbors. There was a knock at my door. I'm sorry. I'll try to keep it down. But some guy came in, sat next to me, and patted me on the shoulder. Hey, I'm Phil, the bartender. Do you recognize me? I liked your dance. I wiped away my tears. At least one person liked it. Phil handed me his phone. But in that video, I wasn't twerking at all. I was twisting my hips like an idiot and waving my arms like crazy. It had been filmed in a bar right before I met the Wood sisters. I laughed and I was about to give him his phone back. But then, I saw something curious on the screen. My friends were standing right behind me. Alex was pointing her finger right at me. I asked Phil, "Do you like how these two dance? They perform at your bar all the time." But he said that dances like that weren't popular in the bar, and he'd only seen them once. The same day they had added me into their team. Well, weird. Why did Alex and Susie lie about performing there? Spending time with Phil was fun, though, and soon I forgot all about my suspicions. It turns out that he was from another state. He'd used to rent an apartment, but he moved into a hotel closer to his work. We exchanged numbers. I tossed and turned all night, replaying the latest events in my head. And in the morning, I came to the dance studio to apologize to the girls for leaving the day before. But they didn't even listen to me. Alex showed me a certificate allowing them to go to the final and said angrily, "We won without you. It turns out replacing you is easy." Alex pointed at some girl. When she turned around, I opened my mouth in surprise. She was a grown woman, much older than us. The oddities didn't end there. The girls kicked me out of their team and demanded that I pay for every lesson they had given me. But why? I thought we were friends.
Yeah, sure. Why would we bother teaching such an awful dancer for free? An ungrateful one, too.
And that's how our short-lived friendship came to an end. Now I owed the sisters a ton of money. Phil lent me some food. I could no longer afford to stay rightfully offended. So I decided to save up on rent and move in with my father until I had what I needed. Dad was very happy to see me. He fed me a delicious dinner and gave me a room. Everything was going great until I started unpacking. I found a picture of Susie and Alex in one of the drawers, and I laughed nervously. Were they following me? I ran downstairs to talk to Dad. He said he wanted to introduce me to his fiancée because she had just returned from the store. A woman came in, carrying packages. I recognized her even before Dad said, "Kate, meet Linda Wood." My dad was dating my former friend's mom. That's why the girls had found a replacement for me so quickly. That's why there was a photo of them in the drawer. Our meeting at the bar was not an accident. There was no way. But why had their family set up everything like this? I decided I would figure it out. I repacked my suitcase and I went back to the hotel, even though Dad tried to stop me. The first thing I found on social media was the schedule of the performances for the trio, and I got lucky. The dancing group, Panthers, as they called themselves now, was giving a show that evening in the same club where my mom had humiliated me. Behind the wall, Phil was preparing to go there for his shift. I asked him for a favor. "Please, can I go in your place? Just for one night? I really need to find something out." And, well, earning some extra money really would not hurt. At first, Phil hesitated, but I managed to convince him. I washed off my makeup, put on a fake mustache, and I hid my hair under a baseball cap and I put on men's clothes. So, in the evening, it wasn't Kate who stood behind the bar, but a cute guy called Kurt. And I didn't have to wait long for the Panthers to appear. The spotlight shone on my stepmother and stepsisters, and they performed pretty well. After the dance, Alex and Susie came up to the bar, just like clockwork. I was mixing cocktails for them and eavesdropping, but as luck would have it, the sisters weren't talking about anything important. I decided it was my time to act. I playfully twirled my mustache and I hit on the fools. After they had been completely charmed by my compliments, I asked them, "Where's your third member? That ugly blonde girl." And the sisters' eyes lit up. Talking over each other, they told the handsome bartender the whole truth. And that's how I found out that our moms had gone to the College of Choreography together and hated each other because of a guy. After graduation, my mom chose to pursue ballet, and Linda Wood picked modern dance. That guy was my dad. He married my mother. However, many years later, he met the girl that he'd loved in college and left my mom for her. But that hadn't been enough for Mrs. Wood. She'd put together a team for her daughters and sent them to lure me to her side. That toad wanted me to leave my mom with no support system, to take away her only daughter. And even worse, she'd succeeded. I hated them with all my heart, and I barely stopped myself from revealing my true identity. But I got a grip, and I spilled my cocktail on Alex, pretending it was an accident. The sisters got angry and left, and I calmly finished my shift and returned to the hotel. Now, it was clear to me why Mom had trained those girls for the twerking competition. Back then, at the club, she had seen me with the daughters of her enemy and decided to at least beat Linda Wood at one thing. She would prove to herself she was better than her opponent. I felt so bad for my mom. I told Phil everything. We spent the night thinking of ways to help her. And in the morning, the plan was ready, and I came home to make up with her. Mom greeted me with a stern look, but when she found out that I knew everything, she softened a little, especially after my promise. I won't go twerking in nightclubs anymore if you do as I say and you don't argue. We got into Phil's car and we drove to his home state. The teams for the final were being chosen there. Twerking wasn't nearly as popular there as it was in our state. Only a few teams performed it, even though they weren't great. Just a couple of my moves were enough for the jury to choose our team. It was too easy. But I knew what kind of battle I was in for in the final, so I decided to do something risky. The rules of the competition said that there had to be 3 people in a team, but nowhere did they say what exactly each member was supposed to do. So, in our team, everyone did what they did best, and we spent a lot of time getting ready. Finally, our moment came. The Panthers did great, as always. Mom was very nervous, but my fighting spirit was infectious. Let's go. We'll beat those mangy cats. And we absolutely obliterated our competitors. I twerked, Mom danced next to me in point shoes, and Phil played music for us using drumsticks and bottles. He always entertained himself that way when there were only a few people in the bar. We were given a standing ovation. The jury members unanimously chose us as the winners of the competition. But the Woods didn't even get into the top 3. During the awards ceremony, I saw their faces full of envy in the audience, and I waved my hand spitefully. I was sure that Mom was also beaming with joy on the pedestal, but for some reason, she didn't look that way. On the way out, I asked her what the matter was. She stroked my cheek and said sadly, "Linda won in the end. After all, your father chose her." But the contest still helped us a lot. We got a lot of money. I paid off my stepsisters, and I rented a small dance studio not far from home. There, we started teaching girls how to dance. I taught twerking, and Mom, ballet. We almost stopped fighting and started spending time together more often. My personal life got better too. I no longer had to go to clubs in weird outfits to find a boyfriend. After all, Phil and I had become a couple. Besides, remember, I promised my mom. Now, I only twerk in gyms and at competitions. But one day, my father came back into our life. He appeared on the doorstep with his things, and he asked us to let him in. He said he had nowhere else to go. What do you think I should do? Hear my father out, or send him away to his second family? What do you think?